Good day to you all. This is Terence Baker again, coming to you from CoStar News Hotels, part of STR and CoStar, of course. And this is the Upgrade, the hospitality podcast where we talk about all things Europe, Middle East, and Africa. We're very excited here in London. We just come off the back yesterday of an eclipse. It was a partial eclipse, but still pretty stunning. And my Spanish relatives, my relatives on my wife's side, saw it in 100% total eclipse fashion. So they were very excited, and the photographs were quite dramatic. But as we all know, the center of our universe is the hotel industry. And I'm thrilled today to have a very much Middle Eastern viewpoint of the industry. I'm joined, thank you, by Alison Grinnell, who is the Group Chief Operating Officer for Marjan and CEO of Marjan Hospitality. Good morning to you, Alison.
Good
How are
morning,
you?
Terence. Good to speak.
Excellent. Really thrilled to have you on. I'm also joined by our producer, Patrick Skillicorn. He's given me a thumbs up, as he always does, that the sound is good. So let's crack on. Alison, you've had a varied career. I first knew you when you were in advisory. You've come, you're getting your hands dirty now in the last few years, developing and operating. Tell us something about your career in the industry and why you love it so much, and how you got to where you are right now. I should say that you're in Ras Al Khaimah in the United Arab Emirates. Um, Tell us something about your background.
Sure. So, as you say, Terence, we first met when I was at PwC, and I moved out to the Middle East with PwC in around 2011, 2012 to help set up their hospitality and leisure practice across the GCC. One of my first clients when I moved out with PwC was actually RAK Hospitality, which was the major hospitality company in Ras Al Khaimah looking after the government assets. And then, really, a couple of years into that, I, as you say, moved to the dark side, went into industry as the then CFO at RAK Hospitality. And probably two and a half years later, moved into the CEO role at RAK Hospitality. Now, obviously, since that time, we merged with Marjan, one of our sister companies. And that was really to look forward to what the next 10, 20 years of the destination would become. So bringing together the hospitality side with Marjan's real estate and development. So really positioning us to drive the destination forward for the next 10, 20, 50 years.
Maybe you can explain the relationship between RAK Hospitality Holdings and Marjan. I guess RAK, both state owned in some form. I assume that as the master developer, that's the correct term, Marjan, you control some of the assets with partners, be they corporate or state owned, and one of them would be RAK Hospitality. So, what have you actually? How's your role changed, and how's that dynamic changed since you left RAK and joined Marjan, and how's it all working?
Yeah, so look, it was a merger between the two entities, and to be honest, the two entities had already been working very closely together on a number of projects, and the largest one, of course, being the Win Al Marjan Island, where we were both equity investors together with Win Resorts themselves. So, as you say, Marjan are the master developers. RAK Hospitality was really looking after operational assets and building operational assets. And we would normally work very closely with Marjan with regards to their development, construction capability. So we'd work together on a number of projects, be it Win, be it staff accommodation, be it some of the hotels. So it was really a natural move to bring the two together, having the Ras Al Khaimah master planner, master developer come together with hospitality, leisure, and operationals. So it really positions us with regards to an Aldar or an Emaar, both of which, are obviously, as you know, very large entities within Abu Dhabi and within Dubai, but looking at a similar kind of experience and corporate structure.
And the Marjan project, I mean, I have been. It's fascinating. There's certain hotels open already. I think Move and Pick, the DoubleTree, Rixos is doing great guns apparently. There's a Radisson and Hampton. I just heard news the other day that Wynn is moving. I think they're doing some of their beach and reef protection, etc. Tell me something about what's coming down the pipeline on Margin, because it's quite exciting. There's four parts to it, aren't there? Four development areas.
Yeah, so Al Marjan Island is one of the four real key master plans that we have within Ras Al Khaimah, and it's the most developed of those. Every plot on Marjan Island is effectively sold, and if you're over here at the moment, you'll see it is a hive of construction. Obviously, there's been the conflict here. There are some ongoing conflicts, as you know, but the construction, the development has not stopped. And we've got a very strong and stable position here in Ras Al Khaimah at the moment. All of the construction is continuing. The very, very significant investment in infrastructure is continuing in plan, which is really laying the foundation now for the next 10 years. Now, if we look at what's already on Marjan Island, as you've said, we have a number of open hotels, a number of open residences. So, a Rixos, a Doubletree, the Hampton, the Pullman, the Radisson, these are already open hotels, but there's a number that have already been announced. Obviously, Wynn Al Marjan Island is the largest of that. We announced last year and did the groundbreaking this year for Janu Al Marjan Island, which is Amman's sister brand. We have Nikki Beach coming up. We have Nobu coming up. We have Fairmont coming up. Emaar Addresses coming up. There is pretty much a whole raft of both hospitality and mixed-use development and residences that are coming up on the island. And we have contractors and construction and cranes pretty much as far as the eye can see at the moment, really with a very, very strong and sustained development pipeline in place.
We'll talk about sustainability later. I mean, Iraq also has a Vision 2030. I think everywhere does, apparently, in the world. But it sounds like this is very much becoming a destination island, not just a series of hotels where people sit on individual beaches. It's becoming a place where people can live and work and play. I mean, I've been up to there. I stayed at the DoubleTree. I very much liked the area in Ras Al Khaimah. It's a beautiful mix of beaches and mountains and varied activities. I did some climbing, albeit very entry climbing at the Bear Grylls adventure camp up in the hills there, and I went to a few fishing villages which still have fishing industries up right by Musandam in Oman, which if anyone's in Ras Al Khaimah, obviously spend a lot of time there, but go into Musandam. It's absolutely beautiful and a different culture, of course. So it's a fascinating area. I've also, although only at night, I've been to the Ritz-Carlton Al Wadi Desert, which I believe RAC Holdings
We
own.
do.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that is one of our hotels. And look, you're absolutely right. I mean, Marjan Island is one of our major master plans. But on top of that, we also have Rack Central, which is really grade A offices that is being developed, and actually will top out. Announcement will go out on that very, very shortly. And we have what is Marjan Beach, which is even larger than our Marjan Island. And this is, under development now. And we've got some great announcements that will come out in the fall as to some of the new hotel brands that will be coming there. One of the ones we announced as Marjan was Hard Rock, which is coming back to the region, but as a fully fledged hotel and branded residences. And that will, be one of the signature projects on in the Vibe District, which is part of Marjan Beach. But as you say, Terence, Ras Al Khaimah is not just about Marjan and the beach. We are the nature emirate. We have got the mountains, which differentiates us from some of our sister emirates. We've got 64 kilometers of coastline. We've got the amazing desert that you saw out at Al Wadi. And, if you look on top of that, we've got 7,000 years of history in Ras Al Khaimah. We can date back quite easily that far. and a number of sites, 4 sites now tentatively listed as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So, yes, we have the beach, the play, Win Al Marjan Island coming, which will absolutely, define part of the Emirate. But then there are other offerings within the rest of Ras Al Khaimah, which I think, people maybe haven't seen or aren't as aware of, but are an amazing asset, amazing natural topography, and what we really want people to come and see within Ras Al Khaimah.
Yeah, absolutely. And as all my listeners know, I never do a podcast without mentioning my passion for bird watching, birding, and it's phenomenal for that too. Definitely go there if you're a birder, you want to see Hume's wheat here, but that might be a bit over some people's heads. And Alison, obviously, Ras Al Khaimah is a little bit further north in Dubai. It, what's the transportation like now? I mean, obviously, getting a taxi doesn't take much, and it's relatively inexpensive if you compare it to most taxi fare structures around the world. But is there any more infrastructure coming there to get people there a little quicker? I mean, we're all time starved in the world now, aren't we?
Yeah, look, we're actually only 45 minutes from Dubai Airport, Dubai Main Airport, and there's 3 major highways that support that. Obviously, the Sheikh Zayed Road, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Road, and the Emirates Road now. But there are also an additional road, the E911 that's coming on. Obviously, you've got Etihad Rail that is starting to develop across the Emirates as well. There is a lot of infrastructure going on to help us to support with Winar Marjan Island. So, new roads that are being built off some of the major highways to ease the traffic coming in. So there are a lot of, from a road perspective, a lot of developments underway. From a rail perspective, there's developments underway. But we're also looking into, sea transport and how that can be enhanced. Obviously, you've heard of some of the drones and the heliports, etc., that are being developed as well. So it is something that is being looked at, across the UAE more broadly, and what are the other ways of transportation to move between the Emirates. But as we say, we're 45 minutes from DXB, which is, probably not that much difference to if you wanted to go
Right.
onto the Palm in Dubai.
And we all know that places with gems of this world shouldn't be too easy to get to. I mean, that's the whole reason people want to go to these places is it's away from all the hubs of infrastructure and transportation. Um, it's all the better for it. You hinted at the conflicts in the area in the last 6 months. We can't ignore those. It seems just as we're about to get into a more settled period, there's a little bit of noise. It seems that the UAE is getting back to its numbers. Not quite, obviously. You're looking at the big publicly listed companies. Obviously, they're reporting data from the last quarter or the last half year. They're saying numbers are down, but someone there, what are you seeing in terms of that story? Is UAE getting back to how we all love it?
Yeah, I think we are. There's certainly green shoots that we're seeing in terms of international visitors coming back. Obviously, the demographic that was hit mostly was the international visitors, with some of the tour operators cancelling flights and major airlines cancelling flights. But to be honest, the level of agility and pivoting that we saw from our resorts to really focus on the staycation markets, so bringing in people from other Emirates, residents, etc. We managed to really learn from what had happened during COVID, and we had a 93% increase in UAE based visitors across the spring whilst the conflict was ongoing. And generally, our hotels during the weekends were at 100% occupancy. So, from a staycation business, that really helped to support our hotels. We are seeing the tour operators coming back now. That's been evident really for the last 2 months. Obviously, summer is always a bit more of a quieter time for us anyway. So I think, the proof will be in the pudding when we get into October and Q4, which is really, one start of the high season. But I think we will be getting back to normal, I think, during that period, and we'll start to see, I think we will be a bit down on last year during Q4. We'll still be a bit down. There'll still be a bit of softness in the market. But I think as we move into 2027, assuming things, continue at the level that they are today, we should be looking in a, much more positive place for them.
I won't say it's even a slight slump, but this pause, this resettling of the numbers, does that give you opportunity to put in other things that, into a hotel industry that will benefit everybody when the numbers do come back?
Yeah, yeah, look, I mean, the confidence has always been there. The UAE is a very resilient country. Ras Al Khaimah is a very resilient emirate. So we took the opportunity with a number of our hotels to do renovation work during the time that it was quiet. So we've taken that opportunity to get those refurbishments done before when our Marjan Island opens and we see all of the business back. So that's been done for a number of our properties. We've continued with, discussions with operators, with F&B, with retail to make sure that nothing has slowed down and nothing has stopped. So I think, this period, whilst yes, has been quieter, has enabled us to actually move forward on other projects and put us in a good position going forward.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, I believe that was a big story coming out of the UAE when the conflict first started, that there was speed for big hotels to say, we're going to use this opportunity to close down, renovate, and come back. And I think that the speed to say that was remarkably quick, much more than many areas would have done, many destinations would have done, which speaks volumes of the hotel industry there, and how it is resilient, how it's flexible, and how it's in tune with customer demands and tastes and desires. I mean, we've all seen the rise in experience travel, people calling it programming now, and that's where the upside is. It helps margins. So, I mean, UAE is gonna come back when it really is back in a spectacular fashion.
Yeah, and I think it really shows the confidence that the UAE had in its fundamentals. It showed the confidence that the people had and the investors had here, that they were willing to continue to invest during any downtime and during the conflict. And I think the calmness that has been in the Emirates is quite significant as well. I mean, there's a lot of noise out there, a lot of social media, but that was really what was being seen in other countries rather than, I think, on the ground. It was a very calm period, and certainly one that was met with confidence and continued focus on how we continue to grow, how we continue to invest. The support that we got from tourism authorities across the UAE and obviously with the RAC Tourism Development Authority has been great. And I think it's really shown the way that we've been able to continue to drive business in the hotels.
I mean, you hinted at the learnings from COVID helps you in the current environment. Obviously, there's 7 Emirates. They're probably all slightly in competition with each other. Obviously, Dubai is the main one, and Ras Al Khaimah is there, and Sharjah and Abu Dhabi to a lesser extent, perhaps. There's also very developed hotel industries in Egypt and Turkey that are seeing a little bit of added demand now. But I don't necessarily, and you might want to comment on this, this time around, I've not seen that move away from huge areas. You know how it works. If there's a conflict in country
Mm.
A, all the neighborhood countries and the neighborhood countries to those get affected because of people's interpretations and cognizance of geography or whatever. I mean, what's the competition like in the United Arab Emirates? And are you still confident people are looking at Ras Al Khaimah and the UAE as one of the top destinations they have to go to in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, across the UAE, I think the Emirates really complement each other rather than compete with each other. Each one has its own USP, each one has its own real anchors. And I think they do very much work together and complement what each other has without, there being this significant competition between each emirate. At the end of the day, we are one
Right.
country. So, did we see movement of tour operator business during the conflict? Yes, of course. But do we see that as a long-term situation? No, not at all. And we're already seeing tour operators coming back. They never lost interest. We had very few cancellations of business. Most of the business was deferred to a later date rather than cancellations coming in. So I don't think anyone has lost the appetite for the UAE or Ras Al Khaimah as a destination at all. And it seems as strong as ever. I'm sure as we start to get into September and October, we start seeing the industry conferences coming back on board. ATM, FHS, etc. They're still happening. The uptake, from what I understand, is still very good. So I don't think anyone is seeing this as a longer term issue, or people saying they don't see themselves coming to the destination. The exact opposite, to be honest.
You mentioned FHS, Future Hospitality Summit. Um, its home is in the UAE. It's also having a new conference in November in Egypt, which will be very interesting. I hope to attend. What are you learning from Saudi Arabia? I mean, I know that there's an emphasis there, perhaps. I'm not sure how loud it is, of having a lot of companies register their headquarters there rather than UAE. But obviously, they're spending a lot of money on air hospitality. Is this Does this help UAE? I mean, what's the dynamic there? I mean, are you all learning from one another, or UAE still you feel has precedence in the area in terms of people's attraction to holiday or do business?
Yeah, look, I'm sure everyone is learning from each other. The Emirates is obviously now really quite a sophisticated destination. Ras Al Khaimah itself is, now really far more of a sophisticated destination. We have our own ratings agencies, so Standard and Poor's or Fitch do our ratings for us, and we have A grade ratings from both of those. We also have here 100% foreign ownership. We have obviously 0% corporation tax, full patriation of capital and projects. So I think, each of the Emirates stands on their own 2 feet, and the UAE stands, on its own 2 feet as well. So whilst the rest of the GCC countries will look and learn from each other, I think it is a look and learn, and everybody is focused really on their Emirates and the growth within their Emirates.
And Marjan Island is presumably it's HMAs, is it? Most of the agreements. I mean, are you looking into franchises in other areas of the Emirates and perhaps expanding that sort of middle tier, middle segment hotels to encourage yet another layer of travellers?
Yeah, so look, historically, we have been very HMA driven, as most of the UAE was.
Of course.
We saw Dubai really start moving out into white label operator franchise agreements probably about 6, 7 years ago. And it is something that certainly we would consider here. We would work obviously with white label operators. We would work on franchise agreements if it made sense for that particular brand and that particular property. We are looking as we develop, new brands coming into Marjan Island, new brands coming into Marjan Beach, and destinations on the mountain, destinations in the desert. There's not one type model that fits all here. And it may be that an HMA is not the right model for a small boutique product on the mountain or a small boutique camp in the desert. So, we are open to really various structures, either with other owners or within our own portfolio, and with the major operators. We do want to bring in new brands. There's a lot of traction now with obviously all of the big four brands. Have got a lot of different of their sub brands coming into the Emirate. But it's always interesting to see those other brands, the ones that maybe only have one brand or one or two brands, or the new lifestyle boutique type hotels. I'd love to see more of those coming to the Emirates as well, which just brings, a different demographic with them. They bring a different traveler from a different destination. So I think all of that is great. And I think, Winar Marjan Island will obviously bring in a unique demographic as well.
Indeed, and it all speaks about the maturity, as you mentioned, the sophistication of the destination. It's quite incredible to see how quickly that's developed in the 15 years I've been in this particular niche in the industry. Talk about sustainability. You mentioned it right at the beginning of the podcast, Alison. Obviously, Margin Island and Ras Al Khaimah have a unique opportunity to do things right. What's the sustainability story with your hotels and the destination in general and the Emirate in general, and what can we look forward to?
So Ras Al Khaimah was actually the first silver certified sustainable tourism destination in the Middle East. And now we have a new responsible rec program whereby we have increased energy efficiency by 23%, reduced greenhouse gas emissions by 29%, and overall waste by about 60% across all of the certified entities. We did have one of the Middle East Most Sustainable Project Awards at Forbes Middle East in 2024. And we have, as you mentioned before, an integrated sustainability strategy 2050. In line with a number of the other Emirates, where we're looking for a 30% reduction in energy, 20% reduction in water, and 20% reduction in renewables. But I think if you look on top of that and you look at the master plans that we are looking at, when we're looking at Marjan Beach or Rack Central, it's a lot of sustainable build. It's bringing in LEED certification. It's making sure that we've got green spaces. It's making sure we've got covered walkways so that the destination can be a lot more accessible, a lot more walkable. And, those shoulder months become more manageable because of how we're building and constructing and how we're developing our master plans.
And presumably, most of your water is desalinated. Is that correct? I
Yes,
mean,
it
that's
is.
a
Yeah.
massive undertaking just on its own. I mean, obviously, the UAE essentially is desert. You've got to manage that desert to provide what the UAE has. But if you take your finger off a button, it's going to go back pretty quickly. So I mean, that's a massive undertaking. But just the desalination of water in and of itself, it's a major task, isn't it?
It is, and there are amazing projects that are held at a federal level as well as within the emirate level as how to be more sustainable with regards to water consumptions. A lot of the hotels have bought in already rebottling, air to water solutions, lots of different solutions, removing plastic bottles, etc. So, everything that can be done within the hotels is being done, and then everything that can be done at the corporate level and at the government level is also being looked at. There's great new sustainable engineering solutions that are coming up all of the time, as you can imagine. And we will always look at any of the sustainable projects that are out there.
So, what can we expect from Marjan in the next 5 years?
So, look, in the next 5 years, we are looking at the moment, we have, about 1.2 million visitors a year overnight. We're looking to move that to 3 million by 2030, tripling the numbers, not long after that. We're looking at tripling the number of hotel keys within the next probably 7 to 8 years. So it is a huge change to the destination. The rate of growth is phenomenal, whilst the overall number of keys is relatively small compared to, say, Dubai. The rate of growth is probably at least, if not more, the rate of growth that we saw, within Dubai. So it is really a change in destination. Win Al Marjan Island has been a game changer. And it's really driven, a lot of investment into the Emirates. And we're really working very closely with the other investors that are coming in to make sure that everyone is working together for the aims and the goals of the destination. So if we move those visitor numbers from the 1.2, 1.3 now up to 3.5 by 2030, you know, that is a huge jump. And it's not just hotel keys that you need to look at. When you increase the number of visitors there, you're also increasing your population, because you need not just more hotel keys, but then you need the support structure as well. You need to have schools, you need the infrastructure, developments at the airport, um, simple things like laundries, bakeries. Everything becomes almost circular as to what else you need to support that rate of growth. And that's really where a lot of our focus is today.
And you've now lived in the UAE for almost 15 years. I mean, what is it that keeps you there? What is it you love about that destination?
Look, I think for hospitality, it's really, the ultimate place to be living at the moment. There is so much going on from a hospitality industry here, and I think it is absolutely leading the charge on hospitality. So it's fascinating from that perspective. It's just, there's so many facets across the UAE, whether that becomes safety and security, whether that's ease of living, ease of doing business. It really is a destination that has grown so much over the period that I've been here. And I only see it continuing to grow, in the next 10 years and the next 10 years after that. There's a real cohesive feel about living in the UAE. Uh, and that was really strengthened during the conflict as well. Residents were very, very resilient. And basically, I think everyone feels that this is their home. I certainly feel that this is my home. And it's not that you're here as an expat. This is where you live, and you're a resident of the UAE.
Well, I wish you every success in the next 15 years. Thank you so much for your time. Alison Grinnell, Group Chief Operating Officer at Marjan and CEO of Marjan Hospitality. It's been wonderful chatting with you. I hope to catch up with you in person very soon in the UAE or perhaps in Egypt. And thank you, listeners, for listening once again. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope you've enjoyed them all and that you come back when next time we record. Thank you so much for listening. Alison, again, thank you. I'm signing off. That's all we have time for this time around. Have a very good day.
Thanks, Terence.
Hello, I'm Luke Haynes, People Newsletter Editor, CoStar News, and the host of Top Credentials, a monthly podcast exploring the colourful careers of those working at the top of UK commercial real estate. In the episodes, we discover the valuable lessons influencing the daily decision-making of property sector leaders, and hear about the aspects of their job that make it a little easier to get out of bed each morning. We'll also ask for their views on the latest news and policies shaping our constantly evolving industry, and even get them to share a famous quote or song title they think defines their career or the profession. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode was recorded on August 13th, 2026, and edited by Sean McCracken. Visit costar.com/hotel news for more coverage and find all of our podcasts on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen.